Hey guys, it's Dennis here with Revog, and this is my review of Eternals, which is directed by Chloe Zhao, who won the Best Director award last year at the Oscars for Nomadland, which also won Best Picture. This is going to be a non-spoiler review, so let's kind of get right into it. So Eternals is a mixed bag. It has amazing visuals, has intriguing characters, has interesting premise, but ultimately, it's held back by the amount of time that you get to spend trying to tell this very ambitious story. Despite being the second longest MCU movie, only Endgame has a longer runtime. This one is at 2 hours and 37 minutes. It's actually not enough time to explore all these characters. You have 10 main characters, and it takes place over 7,000 years, and you don't really get the time to spend with the characters, their relationships with each other, nor do you get to see their relationships with other human beings. Because there's so much story to unpack, I think this actually would have done better if it was made into a limited series on Disney Plus, 6, 7, 8 episodes, versus trying to cram everything into under 3 hours for a movie. Because of the shortened time, and there's also 10 main characters, you don't get to spend any time with them to get to know them. They all have their own unique personalities and backstory, but you don't get to see much of them, which is a shame, because you could do practically a whole episode of television on each individual one, on what they had done in the past, what they're doing now, and how their relationships are with the other Eternals and other human beings, but you don't really get that because everything seems so rushed. In terms of the actual characters and the actors that play them, the standouts were Richard Madden as Icarus, Angelina Jolie as Thena, and Kumail as Kingo. Brian Tyree Henry was also great as Phastos, but they really didn't give him much time. The action also jumps kind of from intensely entertaining to kind of more video game-like with the CG creatures, the deviants. Without getting into spoilers, the best action sequences don't involve the CG deviants, and I'll just leave it at that. There are some gorgeous looking shots in the movie that you probably haven't seen before in other MCU movies. They shot a lot of this practically on location, which is great, and it's something that I wish more directors would do. However, it's contrasted by some of the scenes that are done in green screen that are a bit flat. And, you know, that doesn't mean like, hey, shooting green screen has to look that flat. Now, like all MCU movies, there's humor in this, and some of the stuff that is in this movie is very funny. However, the pacing and the placement of some of these jokes just didn't work. It seemed like sometimes when things would get really serious and there would be this moment that you was really supposed to be impactful, you couldn't really enjoy it because then a joke would pop up. And sometimes that does happen in other MCU movies, but they're able to kind of balance that between the scenes and what they represent, and also with what the actual joke is or the humor, and it flows much nicer. In this one, it kind of is kind of a start and stop thing. So overall, there's a lot of potential with the Eternals. I feel like it has a really good premise and the characters are interesting, but you just need more time with them. And I just feel like that the movie format for this particular story just doesn't suit it. I mean, if you're talking about characters that have lived thousands and thousands of years, you want to see a little more than a few minutes with each of them. And with that, being able to flesh out the characters, their relationships, deeper dive into their dynamics between themselves and human characters, the moments that come later would be much more impactful because you have all that back history and all the detail of their relationships. So overall, I'm going to give Eternals a 6.5 out of 10. It's not a terrible movie, but it's definitely one of the weaker MCU films. It just needed much more time, and I just don't think that the movie format, unless they were going to do kind of a 3-part trilogy like the Lord of the Rings franchise, we weren't really going to get the time we needed with all of these characters into the story that we wanted. So yeah, I feel like ultimately they wanted to do something very ambitious, and they tried, and that was great, but they didn't succeed all the way because it just doesn't work in this type of format. So anyways, that's my thoughts on Eternals. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see a spoiler review after you have seen it. You can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram dennis.tzng. Also, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Revog. We also have a podcast feed. We cover a lot of video games on this channel, but we want to branch out and do movies and televisions as well. So until next time, see you guys later.